a light. Good morning, and sort of a happy belated St. Patrick's Day, but I just want to point out that it actually is St. Patrick's Day in Newfoundland and Labrador today as well on the 19th, so that's why the attire today. So the party continues. Talking about parties, we're missing a few people this morning. One of them being Gary Lynn. She's at the region doing an ad hoc transportation meeting that she couldn't avoid, and Councillor Hyatt is unavailable this morning. So I'd like to call this meeting to order. Are there any disclosures of community interest or general nature thereof? If there are none, review of items not listed on the agenda. There's two, I think.
Mr. Chair, there was an addendum went out on Friday with 2 items of correspondence.
Thank you. Announcements. I did that.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. First of all, some sad news last week. Unfortunately, Butternut lost a resident. One of the residents lost their life, and just thoughts and prayers with the residents and the staff at Butternut, and then special thanks to the Durham Regional Police for their search and how quickly they found him. And then lots going on this week. So a few things going on at the music hall. So there's an ABBA Mania going on Thursday, put on by Rowley Puss. And then there's a concert that celebrates the musical group The Band that's on Friday night. And then pancake breakfast at the arena on Saturday morning. So lots going on. Thanks.
Councillor Ballinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning to everyone. Couple things. Long-time resident last night, Harry Stamp. Harry's coming along nicely. He's in Ridgetown at the Villa on the Ridge. Is much like Butternut. He's in an open setting. Harry, short-term memory's giving him a little bit of trouble, but otherwise he's looking forward to getting back to Uxbridge. He has a few more doctor's appointments. The other thing is, gosh, it's hard to believe, but the 16th annual Huck Finn Day, April the 28th, which is, well, the ice is moving out of the pond, so, but it's hard to believe it's been that long, and it's all free. It's all free for the youth, 15 and under, and they even can get the line, the bait, get their fish cleaned, and win prizes, so. It'll be a big day in Uxbridge. It grows every year. Thank you.
Councillor Bryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple of quick points. One, the BIA is having an Easter egg hunt on March 31st, which is also a big day for Councillor Beach. And as well, we have new banners up hanging downtown, which look fantastic. We finally got those, and it looks great downtown.
Councillor Beach.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, the 31st, Goodwood Hall is doing their Easter egg hunt. A lot of things going on, and anybody that shows up will get to see me dressed as, well, actually my face painted like a rabbit, so that, if nothing else, that's worthwhile coming out to see and entertaining. On March 26th, the TRCA is having a public engagement session at the Goodwood Hall for the Goodwood Trail Plan. It's from 5 till 7. Please come out, see what it's all about. It's quite amazing what's going to be coming up. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Just a couple of very quick things. Brooks Farms, they have their annual Maple Sugar Festival. It goes on to April the 15th. It's a wonderful place. I was out there yesterday, and they've got tons of action out there. They have somewhere around 90,000 people a year visit that place. It's unbelievable, really. And of course, in Zephyr, April the 1st is an Easter egg hunt. It's an annual one, probably been on now for about 20 years, so that will also be on April the 1st. And that's about it. So we can move on to our first delegation. That would be Amanda. Oh, yeah.
Mr. Chair, could we bring ahead report RC 0418, because it has to do with the wayfinding now.
Great.
Thank you.
Moved by Councillor Beach. All those in favor? Carried. Go ahead, Amanda. Welcome.
Hi, thanks very much. I'll be tag teaming with Kate Collins, our tourism coordinator, who's also done a lot of work on this tourism wayfinding. So I'm pleased that we finally get something concrete to show you. So just a quick reminder of our signage committee. And of course, we also use the Tourism Advisory Committee to help us with this project. So it's been a lot of community involvement, and also the BIA has been involved. So quickly, tourism wayfinding, it just makes it easier for tourists to find out where they need to go, and also good for our community. So here, Kate and I put together these boards for you because it's really tough to see if you've made any mistakes on paper when you're talking about directions. So Kate and I went through this, and we actually put all the signs on these boards and really tried to pay attention to northbound, eastbound, you know, trying to figure out which direction we were going and are we actually pointing people in the right direction. So I'm going to leave these boards in the counselor's office so that when you're looking at this, you can actually physically see the roads that we've identified as our tourism routes. So that's key, is we're not going to be able to sign everywhere, but what we did as a group is decide which ways people were coming into town. And we did this with the region's help as well, because they have some stats on the roads that are the busiest. And so these reflect those stats, as well as the signage committee's thoughts on how people are actually coming into town and how do we make sure that they're directed to the right place. So we wanted to be consistent with our icons, so we decided that we really wanted to stick with the Todd's signage. So as much as possible, we used Todd signage in all of our major and minor signs. The only one that we couldn't find, Todd's does not have a shop and dine icon, and we really want a shop and dine icon. That to us is the economic benefit to this project. So we need to find an icon. That one is the American version of Todd's. Did I get that right? Yeah.
Found in an airport.
Oh. Okay, so it was found in an airport. So we still don't have a good shop and dine icon. And if we can't find one that's a standard, then we might just design one, because we really want a good shop and dine icon that shows that we want to bring people into two districts, which would be our historic downtown and also our preserve district, which we'll talk about. So this is our proposed major signs. So this would go on our major routes. And this has gone through the region's department to make sure that they were okay with the signage and that it met all of their standards, and that they had no issues with this signage. And then we also made sure that our works department was fine with it as well. So this sign design has gone to the region, as well as being vetted through the Township of Uxbridge signage as well. So we found one mistake already. Correct. That arrow actually should be right. So this is just an example of how we're going to, direct people eastbound and westbound. In this instance, Davis Drive and Concession 6. And we got the roundabout, Toronto Street and Elgin Park Drive, Highway 47 and Concession 6. We really thought it was important to put the kilometers in. So I think Councillor Barton, you mentioned highlighting the Durham Forest group and making sure they know how far it is to getting downtown for food. So we've got both directions going. So you'll see that we want to make sure that the kilometers are in there as well. And then Goodwood Road and Concession 7. Concession 6 and Goodwood Road. Bloomington and Goodwood Road. Lake Ridge Road and the Pickering Town Line. Lake Ridge Road and Regional Road 8 or Reach Street. And Concession Road 1 and the Uxbridge Pickering Town Line. Oops, back up. There was a red mark. So yes, I guess there was a question if the arrow is correct, and it is correct. So we double checked on that one. And again, adding the kilometers in is important. And now I'm going to pass it to Kate for the minor signage.
Okay, so the minor signage, now that we've got people in the general direction we want them going with the major signage, the minor signage is intended to get people to specific destinations. So these signs are a little bit smaller, but we've got to fit quite a bit on them. They are geared towards both pedestrians and drivers, so the height sort of fits with both. People driving, they're high enough that people will be able to see them. One of the challenges we had was that on some of these signs we need to fit a lot of destinations, but we can only have 4 physical banners on each post. And so what we've done is we've grouped together by direction the different destinations. So each banner is either, left, right, straight, and then you'll see put a number of destinations on one banner. So that solved that problem. What else? Once again, the shop and dine icon is still being sourced, so it's just a placeholder, what you see. And the key point with the minor signs is that we do have the option to make these double-sided. Because these are smaller intersections, physically they're smaller intersections, we can double-side these signs at a very low cost. So we've got a total of 11 minor signs, and right now 3 are double-sided, and we've sort of, on last week, determined 1 or 2 more that we think could become double-sided. So this is our busiest intersection in terms of signage. This is Brocken, Maine, and it consists of 2 double-sided signs. You'll see there's quite a lot on these. These are the busiest 2 signs. This is at Toronto and Main Street, headed northbound, so sort of where you curve around from the Tin Mill and it merges onto Toronto Street. This sign is intended to then direct people to the destinations north on Toronto Street. North on Main Street. The other main intersection is Brock and Toronto. And right now this is, we've got a double-sided sign headed east and westbound, and we've got a northbound sign at the corner where the library is. We don't have a southbound sign, and this is one where it's not technically a main travel route coming southbound on that little area where the Tin Mill and Urban Pantry is. But this is one, now that we know the cost is minimal to double-side these signs, we're thinking we should cover all 4 corners. So again, we're open to feedback. We have 2 signs headed westbound on Reach Street. The first one is right at the corner of Reach and Main Street, and we have a note here that we do need to add Durham Forest and Glen Major Forest headed southbound. The other sign is at Reach and Franklin, and this one's specifically taking people to the Ux Pool and the Legion, Curling Club, and Senior Center. Then we've got Main Street and Elgin Park Drive, and this is a northbound sign. And so it's either taking people straight to the downtown or telling them to go left for the Preserve District and Countryside Preserve. If they continue westbound on Elgin Park Drive, we've got a sign at Elgin Park and Toronto Street. So again, telling people to either head north to the downtown or south to the Countryside Preserve. So this one's at sort of where the Rexall Vince's corner is. And finally, this is specifically for the Countryside Preserve, and so these are not double-sided signs. This is at Toronto Street and Wellwood Drive, around where the Walmart is, the Walmart Plaza. And because this is a larger road, we couldn't double-side this, so we have 2 signs, one northbound, one southbound, both taking people into Wellwood Drive to get to the Countryside Preserve.
One thing that we should mention is you saw on a couple of the signs that we mentioned the Preserve District. So that is what we've been throwing around actually for about a year and a half now. We keep saying the Preserve District when we're talking about Canadian Tire, Walmart, Zehrs, that whole section of shop and dine. We think it's important that we show that shopping and dining happens in that area. And so we came up, the actual signage committee came up with the Preserve name, and I know the BIA has been throwing that around as well, and so far we've had no opposition. There's not been an official vote whether or not we can name it the Preserve District, but we've gotten positive feedback from the BIA, so that's something else we kind of need to decide when we're finalizing these designs. So this is phase 1. This is the design and fabrication. We're doing 11 minor signs, 20 major signs. The cost is $46,000. We were able to get 50% funding from Central Counties, which was better than original. The original contract was 1/3 funding, but Central Counties really wants to support us, so they upped it to 50% funding, especially since we have added some new signs, and Central Counties wanted to make sure that we were able to do the full project. So as soon as we get council's approval on design, and we make sure that every single sign is perfect, then we will start fabrication, and then we will do the installation as a phase 2, which Central Counties has already verbally said that they would help fund. So that's comments or questions.
Questions? Councillor Beach?
Thank you. It's nice to see it up there after working on it and how far it has come. There is a sign for, if I haven't lost it, for Shop and Dine. It's a really good.
That's a Shop and Dine icon.
Oh, perfect.
If you go into Google Images, I already sent it to you.
Okay, awesome.
You'll see it.
So it looks really good, like that would fit up there really nice, and it's really nice that Central Counties, you know, stepped up a little bit more, which we're very thankful for, because they've been really good in the planning of the whole, you know, the whole project. So thank you.
Councillor Barton?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. A couple questions. One, and you probably know I'm going to ask this. You've got hiking for all the forests, but not most, but a large percent of the users are cyclists. Just wondering if we could put a bike somewhere in that, in terms of the icon.
I'll actually let Kate answer that question, because she's the one doing all the Todd signage.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had the same thought. When we originally were picking the icons, we were trying to stick solely with the Todd symbols, and the only cycling icon they had was for a cycle shop.
Okay.
And so originally I switched that to the hiking because it's not actually a cycle shop.
Yeah.
Then when we determined we're not 100% going to stick with the Todds because they simply don't have some that we need, like the Shop and Dine, I think that sort of opens the door to put back a cycling image. So I think we can definitely revisit that.
Yeah, so the two I was thinking would be Fields of Uxbridge, because we've got the rollerblader and the skateboarder.
Right.
But, yeah, the BMX guys might feel, and then Durham Forest. But certainly for the Walker property, the majority of those people hike there. There's lots of cyclists as well, but more hikers, I would say. So.
Yeah, but Durham Forest is the one that I think.
Okay, and then do we have anything for Dagmar? I didn't notice for the Dagmar mountain bike trails.
We don't, no.
Okay, we may want to there, because even a lot of cyclists can't find it. It's hidden really well, the driveway. So just, we may want to just think of if we can add one somewhere, that, even a small one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the actual entrance for Dagmar, there's only going to be one moving forward, and it's very tough to find.
Okay.
Okay, and then AODA standards, do we meet those with these? Good, okay, excellent, thanks.
Councillor Ballinger?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and look, thanks, for all the hard work. That wasn't done overnight. That's taken a while. Just using my imagination, like I like to do, is, shop and dine. Using your own, artist, what about a, very simple, people understand, a knife and a fork with a plate in the middle of the plate is a shopping cart. You can't miss it. It's simple as anything, so people know. But job well done, ladies and committee.
Councillor Bryan.
Again, to kind of reiterate, thank you very much. I think this is great. One thing I do like about it, it's very clean and it's very classy, I think, which is kind of the image we were really going for in this, and I think that sets the tone and certainly sets the image for the town, so I thank you for putting that in. And for what it's worth, I like Preserve District. I think that's sharp. So thank you for all your work.
I have a couple questions, Kate. One of them is, I noticed you had in there the hamlet of Goodwood, a sign, but you don't have all the other hamlets included. The other thing is that I think there's kind of a void in Davis Drive from the west coming into town. I mean, that's Davis Drive and Durham Road 30 is the entranceway into the town up there, and there's a ton of traffic coming in that direction. You wait until they get to the 6th concession before you put a sign up, I think, as I recall, unless I'm wrong. But is there anything, there's very little out at the western boundary of our township to come into our township, and there's a ton of traffic. And I think also keep in mind that Davis Drive is also an exit off the 404, and that makes it a very, very busy spot. And I see them missing, and I also see that I think we should promote our halls in the rural area as well. So those are a couple things I think are missing.
Okay, yeah, on the outskirts of the township, we have our Welcome to Uxbridge Township already on there. And what we actually wanted to do was, in the future, is maybe add some banners underneath that said, you know, Hamlet of Goodwood, or like some different options for those major signage on the outskirts. We didn't have enough funds. If you go back to the original sign study, there was some reference to the outlying signage that we had. I think you're right, though. I think we needed to make sure we do all the rural halls. So we'll go back and make sure that we do all the rural halls, because that's very important. And the only reason we did the Hamlet of Goodwood was because of the cyclers, mountain bikers, and specifically the mountain bikers at Durham Forest. And we know a lot of them go to Anina's for food. So we wanted to give them two directions for food. I'm going to highlight one business over another, but we wanted to say Hamlet of Goodwood is this way, knowing that Anina's is a very popular destination for those mountain bikers specifically. And then also Historic Downtown is another great option for food. So we kind of wanted to have that. That's the reason that we did that. But certainly I think you're right. We do need to make sure all the rural halls are in there. So we'll go back and look at that.
And if you don't mind, just I think that you usually see when you're entering to a lot of communities, it sort of says, even if you're far away, like Durham 30 and Davis Drive, it sort of has something that indicates downtown, which direction to go. I mean, when you're out there.
Right.
So that's food for thought, okay?
Yeah, and I agree 100%, because that's been, the Tourism Advisory Committee for years have said that we have all these people coming from Toronto and from the south, and we know how many people are using Durham Forest and the Walker property. Like, we know how many people are there, and they don't really know how close downtown is. And that's one of our key things, is to get them downtown.
I agree. And that 404 is huge. There's a ton of traffic coming off of there.
Yeah, and the 404, we actually pay for a Todd sign that says Uxbridge Trails, and the only purpose of that sign is to let them know that Uxbridge is this way.
Great, thanks, Amanda.
Yeah, you're
Are
welcome.
there any other questions? I'm going to bring a report. I just got to check the number. Do you know what number it is, Debbie? I'll get it. RC04 forward. What would you like to do with that report? This is Amanda's report.
I also added one line to the end just saying that you approved the design. I'll just skip to that last page. And the number 4 is the last one for adding to this, that the committee approves the design of the proposed signage.
sorry, is that in, that's not in it now? Oh, that's number 4, that's an addition. So it's move the recommendation as amended, adding number 4. Councillor Bryan.
I'll give you that motion.
Great. Any other questions? All's in favor? Carried. Thanks. Thanks,
Thank you.
Amanda. Thanks, Kate. Great job.
So we'd like to make sure that there's no mistakes in this next week. So if you could let me know, the bylaw's gonna be coming back to you, on Monday. So, if you could make sure that any errors or issues that you've seen are, if you could identify them before Monday, then we'll make those corrections and then we'll start the design and fabrication phase.
Thanks, Amanda. Okay, Lou and Stuart. Welcome. Thank you. Either place, you can sit here or stand there, whichever you prefer. All right.
Something. Thank you very much, and
There he goes. Thanks, Dave.
as you're aware, we did the first Uxbridge Scottish Festival last year, and proved to be very successful. We had a free event, and a beautiful weather. Probably one of the best days of the summer we got on the Saturday, and as usual, everybody loves Elgin Park, and we had 173 registered Highland dancers, which makes us one of the biggest events already for Highland dancing. And Pat was there and helped us with getting toilet paper, etc. But
That's not based on qualification,
yeah,
by the way.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. So again, it turned out very successful. The feedback we got was amazing, and at our post meeting, we all came in with the same attitude that we'll do it again, and we're going to keep it at no charge again. It's a challenge for us, obviously, but that's we just think that these kind of events can take place and bring families together where it's a no-charge event and can really enjoy the park. We're not making a lot of changes because we don't have the money to make a lot of changes, so we're going to continue with, we'll probably try and bring in at least 1 or maybe 2 more pipe bands. We're going to bring back the children's area that was very successful a few years back, where we did the floral wreaths, and we'll do face painting, and we'd like to build a Viking ship, and I'll mention a little bit more about that. But that was wonderful in the past years, where kids would come and they'd paint shields and cut out cardboard swords, and then they would make a Viking ship with the cardboard. And so we'd like to, those are the comments that came back to us after the games, like, boy, we missed the Viking ship, and those kind of statements. So we're going back to really concentrating on keeping the whole family entertained. And again, we're going to have a lot of Highland dancers competing as well. So it's July the 28th, and we were advised to come to council to ask for almost like a 5-year plan to have that 4th Saturday in July put aside for us for the next 5 years. And council has been great. They didn't charge us for the park, and we really appreciate that, because that helps us continue on the no charge agenda. We also have a new website up, UxbridgeScottishFestival.com, and we would like, with your support, we'd like to put the Uxbridge logo on our website as one of our sponsors or contributors, if that's okay. And again, the event, we know it's going to be successful. We had we used a lot of local food vendors last year. Mad Millie's came back, and so they're all coming back. But we've added Anina's. Anina's is bringing their truck over, and we've also got a vegetarian option coming. So you know, we don't want to just have fish and chips or Scotch meat pies, but those are still very popular as well. And we have, because of the success last year, word has spread, and we have quite a few more I call it trinkets and trash vendors, but of which I'm one of them, you know. But we have some nice tartan teddies and things like that that are we're being very selective and not just taking money and bringing in, you know, t-shirt manufacturers, etc. But so all the vendors are coming back. They were very happy. So I guess we're here to kind of ask for the park for the next 5 years, at least. Hopefully it'll be 50 years. But again, the event is getting attention, and we'll keep it at no charge for as long as we can. Anything, Lou?
No, I think you've covered everything, Stuart. But just while I have a chance, I just want to put in a plug for the pipe band. We're doing a flash mob at Zares this Saturday morning. I know the mayor is aware of it and said she would be there, but I'd love to have anybody in town be there. And Phil Zares, we're hoping to do a few more of them around town over the course of the summer, so we may show up anywhere. The other thing I wanted to mention, and again, I'm plugging the pipe band. A week ago Sunday, we were at the St. Patrick's Day Parade in Toronto, and we have since been contacted by the St. Patrick's Society and asked to participate in a promotional video for them at Toronto Island, and it'll also be a promotional video for the band. So the video will be of the band marching off the ferry on the Center Island. But as soon as I have more information, I'll let you know.
That's fantastic.
Well, if we're doing commercials,
oh, here we go.
I would like to point out that the only Tartan Day Parade in Canada takes place in Port Perry and will be on April the 8th, when the federal government declared officially Tartan Day, which is actually April 6th. We started a parade in Port Perry, and we've been doing it every year. We did it on the actual day when we started, but we found that Sunday's a much better day to get the street closed and march, and obviously our pipe band is there. So, but you're very welcome to join us, and we have a parade and lots of people coming with tartans, and then we have a Kirkin of the Tartan church service where I won't go into the old story, but when the English would not allow the Scots to wear tartans after Culloden, the Scots would have a little bit of tartan in their pocket, and they would go to church and they would pray for the day that would be able to wear their tartan again. And so this is a very nice service called the Kirkin of the Tartan. And then we go to the Legion for sangs and clatter, and of course haggis. So you're welcome to join us. Yeah, that's right. So it's a great day, and you're welcome to join us. And if you'd like to come, let me know, and we'll get you marching with some of the. If we can get, we've had Mr. Anderson in the past, and we've had Aaron O'Toole, and so we've had a lot of support, and so that's great. And that all lends itself to the Uxbridge Scottish Festival too, because they'll be there if they're free. So
great.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
I don't
Stuart.
know what.
I'll just open this to questions now, just if you want to hang out there for a bit, Stuart, in case you want to answer some. Councillor Bryan.
One quick question. I like the flash mob idea. Are you allowed to say what time you're going to be there, or do I have to hang out at Zares like a creepy guy? Well, there's an honest answer. Okay. Well, because if I keep walking around with a shopping cart, eventually they're going to kick me out.
You got time for pancakes first.
Absolutely. That's perfect. And just a quick comment. I think that it's great you're coming back, and I like the idea. I love the idea of it being family friendly.
Yeah.
Again, and bringing the kids back in. That's really what we need to do. So thank you for all you do. Appreciate it.
Any other questions? Councillor Ballinger.
Before I speak to Stu and that, I'll look to Ingrid for this. Ingrid, for 5 consecutive years in the park on the same date, should this go back to staff as far as some kind of a contract so it's there Could you just explain how that works, please?
Yeah, well, basically, we would enter into an agreement with them, and it'll stipulate the things that they'll be responsible to pay for, and the insurance will be required to provide, and then hopefully they'll sign.
Thank you.
So Stuart, we'll have to get together with Ingrid and just get an agreement.
Yeah,
set
I
up,
think
okay?
we understand the process, so I think we're fine with that.
Great. Councillor
And we
Brown?
know that there's certain costs that we have to, put in as well.
Like toilet paper, anyway.
Just, and to the two gentlemen, you have gone through Karen to make sure that date is open?
We've checked with the date so far, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
at least this year, so,
All right, good luck.
thank you.
Councillor Beach?
Yes, thank
Do you
you,
have a question?
gentlemen. I'm so glad that it's coming back and that you have intent for the next few years to hold this event. I think it's wonderful having a free family, friendly, you know, and just bringing so much of this to the town. So I just want to thank you both very much and your group for making this happen. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Guys, thanks for doing this, thanks for coming in. Just a question to Ingrid. The logo, if we provide the park for free, that means we're a sponsor, so we could go under that. We could lend them the logo for, the Discover Uxbridge logo for their website?
We can, we just need to be careful with the logo, we have to be careful with our logo and what it represents. We're not running the event,
Yeah.
so we'll have to talk about that when we're doing it, because we have to be careful that it's not seen as our event either, that
Yeah.
they still have it's still their own event, because we won't have any responsibility for the event.
Yeah, I understand. And then have it on Discover Uxbridge and everything else, we can promote it that way. Okay. That's it, thanks, guys.
Thank
Just
you.
a couple questions, Stuart.
Yeah,
Is there gonna be a beer garden at this?
Yes,
Okay, so we're gonna have to declare this a municipally significant event, so you can get a, SOP, special occasion permit?
yep. Well,
Okay.
Second Wedge will be our beer supplier, and I believe they do a number of, events in the park, so they'll know all that.
Okay, well, that's probably, so we probably will need a motion to, ask staff to go into an agreement for 5 years. We're gonna have to, I think we'll leave the logo out of the motion till staff discuss that with them, and then the other one is to declare it a municipally significant event. So are those the only two things we'll need? I think so at this point. Yeah, Debbie's just saying as long as the crest is showing that the township is a sponsor, not an event organizer.
Right,
That's,
yeah.
so somehow you'll have to work that in, okay?
Yeah, I think there's a spot that we say thank you for your
Okay.
support, and
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Would somebody like to make that motion? Councillor Bryan? Any other questions on the motion? All's in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, guys.
thank you.
Good luck. It'll be a great year. Let's hope for good weather. Elizabeth, you're up next. This is Elizabeth Calvin. This is from, Green Durham. Welcome. There you go.
Good morning.
You're good to go.
I'm nervous. My name is Liz Calvin, and I'm
Don't
chair.
boo, we do this every day, don't.
I'm chair of Green Durham Association, and we're a not-for-profit charitable organization dedicated to, hope I get it right, protecting, preserving, and enhancing the forests, farmlands, and natural areas which lie northeast of Toronto, in Uxbridge, North Pickering, and in the adjacent Greenbelt lands. And you may be aware that last summer we were successful in getting a grant from the Ontario Trillium Foundation for $75,000, and the purpose of this grant was to develop a plan for a piece of property owned and managed by the Toronto and Region Conservation Authority in the extreme southwest edge of Uxbridge Township. And the reason this is significant is that it's immediately adjacent to the New Rouge National Urban Park, 1,000 acres of which are now in Uxbridge Township. And so it was important to have a plan. There wasn't the funding in the Conservation Authority to facilitate that, but the planning is underway, well underway, for Parks Canada in the Rouge land, so it made sense to do it all of a piece. It's also significant because it's just adjacent to public transit for the very first time in Uxbridge Transit. You know, you can actually get on in Toronto and get off and be not too far from the trails. The Lincolnville Go stop is within walking distance of this parcel of land, also the northern boundary of Rouge National Urban Park. So we got a grant for $75,000 because we were well situated as a charitable organization, and it was part of our focus. And Parks Canada stepped forward with more than $30,000. Green Durham Association put in $40,000 towards implementation of pieces of the plan. We don't know what those are yet. And $10,000 was contributed by the Oak Ridges Trail Association. So it's been a great partnership, and in the development of the plan, we've been really pleased to have Councillor Beach and Councillor Barton attend some of the meetings. In the coming week, you'll see a public consultation meeting, which will be held at Goodwood Community Hall. There'll be a lot of ads this week in the paper and mail-outs to residents. So my request is, the requirement of the Trillium Grant is that we hold a public recognition event at some point in the life of the grant. And the time that makes the most sense is early in June, and that coincides with our annual general meeting, which we usually hold at a quiet little country church, but it's not appropriate to hold a large public event there. So we've looked into holding it at the Goodwood Community Hall, and I believe there's a policy that, if you rent the hall on a weekend, it's all or nothing. You've got to rent it. It's sort of set aside for weddings and large-scale events. We would like to rent it for half a day at an hourly rate rather than the full day. We don't need it for a full day at $300 odd. So we would need it from about 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. There'd be a public event. The information would be presented, the final plan by the Conservation Authority, and then a walk would take place on the property itself, which is just down the road. So that's our request, the hourly rate versus the all-day rate.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I think what we'll do, perhaps someone can make a motion to bring correspondence item 39 forward. Councillor Beach? Great. All those in favor? Carried. Great. Questions? Go ahead, Councillor Barton.
Yeah, more of a comment than a question.
Go ahead.
Green Durham have done incredible work all over the place. A privately funded charitable organization, and the vision that I've seen out of your organization is just phenomenal. You're thinking, a lot of us think a year out or 2 years out. You seem to be thinking 1 or 2 decades out in most cases, which has been amazing. I would propose that we go one step further. This is a group that's only does charitable work in Uxbridge. How about we provide the hall for free to them, as long as they're out by 1, so we could rent it to a wedding or something moving for the rest of the day.
Go ahead. That's a motion by Councillor Barton. Just one quick question, just if you don't mind. Have you checked to see if the hall's available that day? It is available?
It's penciled in.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. Great. So Councillor Barton's made a motion. Any questions?
I just want to say that the Goodwood Hall Committee really support this because it brings a lot of people to the hall for many reasons, and it's supporting something in Ward 1 that is really important. So all our committee is just thrilled about this
You've got Dave's
potentially taking place there.
Okay, so we have a motion by Councillor Barton. Question?
Yeah, just one quick question. Sorry, which day is it in June you've penciled in?
June the 2nd. Saturday, June the 2nd.
And you did a great job. Don't worry about being nervous.
Thank you.
Great. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. There you go, Elizabeth. You got it for free.
You.
So
Thank you so much. That's not, I was happy to pay, or we were happy to pay.
We're happy you're there.
So that's beyond. I'd just like to say I saw the sign presentation, and the banners are coming up downtown. I read about that in the paper. It is such an exciting time. I feel like everything is coming together for Uxbridge this year. Good year.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Yeah.
That'll be exciting too.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
I'm so surprised our buddy Jude isn't here today. We'll have to skip him and put him off for another date, I guess. What time was he due at? He was due at 10:50, so. No, 11:05. Oh, he's 11:05? Oh, okay. Oh, sorry, Andrea, I missed you. Sorry, come on up. Welcome. I thought she was canceled. The guys. No, just the Duck Derby Oh, I thought sorry, I thought you were canceled for some reason, but it's just the duck derby part, right? Okay, okay. Go ahead. Right, the front. There you go.
There we go. I represent the Second Uxbridge Girl Guides. They can't be here today, they're at school. We are starting a fundraiser this year to raise money to go to England in 2020 for the Jamboree and a big camping trip up the coast of England. One of the fundraising suggestions that was brought to us by a group that did fundraising for the animal shelter was the rain barrel sale that was very successful a couple of years ago. They did the rain barrel sale in conjunction with the compost drop-off at the arena, which is brilliant, and we want to do the same because you're picking up all of those interested parties, picking up all the compost. The problem is the rain barrel company will only drop off rain barrels Monday to Friday, and the compost sale is on a Saturday. So we need somewhere to store the rain barrels overnight, and we don't have the budget, unfortunately, to rent the hall to do that overnight. So what I'm asking today is if it's possible for you to donate the space at the arena overnight for storing the rain barrels, so that we can have the rain barrel sale at the same time as the compost. I've checked, it's available. I know it's a big ask, but it would be the only way we could manage to do that.
Okay, Andrew, good. Thank you. Questions? Councillor Ballinger.
Well, my question is to Mr. Ferguson, because I know he did this before, and I'm looking at Bob. Do you see any problems, Bob? No. Bob is the arena manager.
Oh,
I
great.
know my daughter looked after the rain barrel.
She did. She was so helpful and
yeah,
enthusiastic.
and so I'm fine with that. Use the
So you'd
arena
like to make a
Bob's
motion?
good room. I'm fine with that.
Like to make a motion, Councillor Ballinger?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Motion to support that. Are there any other questions? Councillor Barton, question?
Yeah, just a question, would we put them on an ice pad, or would we take the hall for that?
I think it's going in the hall, right?
That was my intention.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a Friday night. What, okay.
Yep.
Any other questions? Great, we have a motion by Councillor Ballinger. All in favor? Carried, thank you.
Thank you
Great,
so
thanks
much.
Andrea. Have a great day. Thank you very much. Good luck. I don't suppose we can do anything for Jude that he's not here. Okay. All right, so we'll leave Jude. If he happens to show up, we'll deal with it later on. I'll go to finance, I guess, eh? Alrighty, I'm going to call the Finance and Emergency Services Committee to order. And the first item on the agenda is item correspondence 22. That's from Tony Laura regarding the Dog Park Committee. What they're after here is that, as we discussed when we started the dog park, the committee wants to go out and raise some funds and have their input into the dog park, contribute, build some things, put some things together. They're currently looking for some sort of a shelter at this point in time, and they'd like to be able to raise funds for it, and they wanted to come back and ask council if that would be all right. Councillor Barton.
Yeah, I support a shelter up there. I think it's a great idea with benches and everything else. My only concern would be $3,000 to $5,000 won't do a lot.
Well, they have researched it. They've looked into it, and they've found a few that would, yeah, and they're quite confident they can do it for that.
Oh, excellent. That's great news.
Any other questions to that? Would somebody like to make a motion to support that? Councillor Beach. Any other questions? All's in favor? Carried. Thank you. This is correspondence item 23 from Joanne regarding the Springtide Music Festival coming soon to our town. Councillor Bryan.
I think this is great. We've talked about it a lot at the BIA, and it's going to be a fantastic event. My question, I guess, is to Debbie or to Ingrid. Can we do that with the Uxbridge Youth Centre?
Mm-hmm.
If we can give that to them, then certainly I would make that motion that we allow them to do that.
I understand the building will still be there, so let's use it. It'll be perfect.
Great. Then there's not much else to go.
So you're going to make a motion to support that, Councillor Bryan?
will.
Is that what you're doing? No other questions? All's in favor? Carried. These are reports to committees. This report, oh, sorry, I have one item on the, we've already done that, 39, right? Yeah. On the addendum? Great. Reports to committee, PWO 2218 of Ben Kester. This is regarding the hot mix paving tender. Councillor Barton.
Just a question. Ben's not here, but do we know how many kilometers that $563,000 is for?
I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, neither. Okay.
Sorry, would you want to table that until we can get an answer for you?
No, no, it probably doesn't matter, but we do have a few things on the agenda that relate to Mr. Kester. So.
All right, Debbie's gone to get him. Any other questions on that? We'll move this off till Ben gets here. How about we go to Amanda's report then, RC 0518, Amanda's report. This is regarding the Kid House roof. What would you like to do with that, Councillor Barton?
I support the recommendation.
Support the recommendation. Are there any questions? All those in favor? Carried. This is report RC 0618, also from Amanda. This is regarding the additional funds they're going to use at the Fifth Line Church. Councillor Ballinger.
I'll move the recommendation.
Are there any questions to the recommendation? All those in favor? Carried. This is report PR 0618 of Bob Ferguson. This is regarding the accessible washroom renovation. Questions? Councillor Bryan.
I'll support this recommendation.
Move the recommendation. Are there any other questions? All's in favor? Carried. This is BL 05. Do we need Andre for this? Let's see if we do. BL 0518. Andre, this is regarding the quotations for the car. Councillor Bryan.
Yeah, I would like to ask Andre a few questions, if we could get him
Okay.
as well.
All right.
Thank you.
When Debbie comes back, we'll get Andre, I guess, eh?
Let me text.
Yeah, well. We'll get, don't worry. Thanks, Bob.
David's got his electronic device, he's got him coming.
Just bear with us for a moment. SOS. Song about that.
I'll give you a motion, Mr. Chair, for a 5-minute recess.
Alrighty.
Thank
All those in
you.
favor? Carried.
Thank you.
So let's say we'll be back at 11 o'clock, okay? Alrighty, let's call this meeting back to order. I guess we'll do a couple of Ben's reports. The first one was PWO 2218. This was regarding the hot mix. I think Councillor Barton had a question on this one.
Yeah, and I asked Ben offline, but the question was, how many kilometers are we going to be paving, and then, you know, which roads for that $563,000?
Ben?
So there's Ashworth between the 2nd and 3rd, Franklin and Parkside, Ewan, part of Ewan, part of Marion Drive where the curbs are, and Collins Street. The region's going to replace the sanitary and water on Collins Street, and then we're going to pave it.
Any other questions, Councillor Barton? Nope. No? Okay. What would you like to do with this report? Someone like to move it? Councillor Bryan? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next report is also, is that the only one Ben had?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, thanks, Ben. Andre, this is report number BL 0518 of Andre Grattan. Do you want to come forward, Andre? Thank you.
Are you skipping the other two?
Which one did I miss?
Oh, just do them all.
We did them all. Yeah, I just got this. Okay. Welcome, Andre. What would you like to do with this report, Councillor Bryan?
I have some questions on this, Andre. Thanks for coming. First off, one of the concerns I have, obviously, which I'm sure you anticipated, is that you weren't recommending we go with the low bidder.
Correct.
Okay. One of the points I have with that, and I've got several questions. What I see if you're going not to the low bidder, there's going to be no incentive down the road for other people to be the low bidder, right?
Okay.
So do you not foresee that as a problem?
I don't necessarily think that the lowest price is the best value. That's what I was trying to get at with my report.
Okay. One of the things that comes up is the delivery time is important. You had said one of them is 1 day, another one is 75 days?
Yeah, they range from 1 day to 90 days at the most.
Okay. A couple questions on that. Is there no dealer trades available to make that quicker than the 90 days?
I don't know what you mean by dealer.
Dealer trade is if Williamson has a car, you want a car,
Yeah.
Williamson doesn't have it, they will call to another dealership and they
Okay.
can bring that car in. My wife works in the car business, that's how I know what the term dealer trade
Oh,
is.
I'm not aware if that is
Okay.
an option for the models that have
Okay.
longer
That-
days of delivery.
That certainly would be an option because that's a normal thing in car business. The one thing it says that the delivery time, and I'm going back to this one, the old vehicle was getting passed on to another department, correct?
Yes, it's going to be used by another department.
Okay. Are they in dire need of it? They need it right away, or is there no sense of urgency there?
I don't believe that there is a sense of urgency.
Okay.
Not that I've been made aware, just when it's available, it's available.
Okay, because I wasn't sure, because one of the lines said you talked to staff, so I didn't know if that staff was the other department, and they said I need the car, but from what I'm hearing is, it isn't. They don't need the car right away. Is it going to Works?
It's going to work, so I'm not
Ben, do you need
sure
the
if
car
it's
right away?
dire.
No? Okay, so that answers that one. My other thing, we're talking about the warranty, the maintenance, the safety features. Would all that warranty work be done on Whitby?
Yes. Yes.
So we would have staff taking the car down during staff hours to drive it to Whitby to get it serviced?
Correct.
Okay, I don't see that as a good, use of taxpayer money.
Okay.
If we can get a less expensive vehicle, do a dealer trade and get it into the budget, I would be happier with that. So at this point, I wouldn't support this recommendation to go with, CNC Motors.
Other,
I would like to highlight the concern that, we did buy the cheapest vehicles before within bylaw. In
Mhm.
2006, we bought 2 Dodge Calibers.
Mm-hmm.
That ended up costing the township quite a bit of money in repairs.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't believe going with the cheapest bet is always the right way to go. You're not getting the best value, and that's the opinion of staff, both myself and the mechanic.
So the mechanic said don't go. Yeah, the mechanic said go with the, not with the lowest price?
We reviewed all of the options that were there.
So the mechanic said
yeah.
don't go with the cheapest?
But the serviceable things that can be done, the majority of it can be done from our mechanic.
And so he said don't
Yeah.
go with the cheapest one?
It's the recommendation of staff. I don't think he'd prefer that I said that for him.
Okay,
I'm
well,
not
that's,
gonna
that's what I'm trying to get at. Who
Yeah.
said that we shouldn't go with the cheapest when, if we're spending taxpayers' money and they're gonna
Mhm.
come to us, I
Mhm.
have a really hard time not going with the lowest. And I appreciate you taking that stand.
Okay.
And I appreciate the work you
Okay.
did in that, so I'm certainly not trying to diminish that. But as I look at this, I see the best value is the Focus. So I'm not
And-
comfortable with making that recommendation, but certainly everybody else can have an opinion as well.
And
Councillor Barton.
Andre, thanks for shopping for your department the way you would shop yourself. I think that's, taking some ownership of this is nice. I see the same things that Councillor Bryan talks about, although I do see real value for Uxbridge having all-wheel drive in a vehicle like this. And also, have you looked into like a sales price when you would be done with this vehicle? So say, typically you keep your cars for 4 or 5 years, I'm guessing, or longer?
we've had the trucks for, I think we're going on our 11th year,
Oh, wow.
so we get quite a bit of value out of them. So, I didn't do too much research on the resale of them, but I would anticipate of the list that there, from my understanding, in general about owning my own vehicles, Toyota would probably have the highest resale value of that list.
Yeah, and I've owned Toyotas and
Yeah.
Subarus, much like the ones
Yeah.
that you quoted.
Yeah.
And the all-wheel drive for our department, I see some value, and typically they get some pretty decent resales on
Mhm.
Subarus, maybe more than a Cruise.
Mhm.
Although I also like to support local, so I'm totally torn up.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I guess my comment would be is that, oh, Jack, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, I just direct this to Andre. You definitely looked into this. Tell me why you selected this car. Just tell me why you selected this one.
Well, I think for me, it does come down to, the value that I think that we're getting. I also think that, having symmetrical four-wheel drive is important if we're going to, go with a car. Then I don't have to worry about it going on site on people's properties about getting stuck. That's always been a concern within the bylaw department, is even with the two-wheel drive trucks, is that we've got stuck on quite a few occasions. And I think that it's, in my opinion, I think it's the best option. Value related, I suppose, looking at the Toyota, because you get an 8-year powertrain warranty, which is, substantial in comparison to the other ones. But for me, it's the safety value of the symmetrical all-wheel drive and having that, because those vehicles are going out in inclement weather, they're going on properties, they're going on overnight parking, so I want my staff to be safe.
Okay, and the only negative that I see in looking at it all is the servicing, having the vehicle servicing.
Yeah, the warranty work, not being within Uxbridge, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Beach?
Thank you for all your research. I really like what you've done. You know, I would like to buy local, but I own myself European model, and I've liked it much better because before that I all had North American, and I had more trouble with them than not, and expenses. My one reservation about the servicing have to be down in Whitby is that the distance. That's a definite reservation, but I like what it's saying about the Toyota, because you've got to look at a lot of different things, aspect long term. Resale value is generally much higher on European brands, you know, European, Asian, whatever, far better than North American, and they do stand up better.
I guess the question I have though, Andre, is, and I have a difficult time doing this, because when we go out for a tender, we've gone out for a tender, we have someone that's come in at the lowest price, we've also got someone that's also local. I think when you start getting into the nuts and bolts of it, that's really a request for proposal, not a tender, and I that's my opinion. I think I'd have a hard time explaining to Brandon that we think another vehicle is a better vehicle than the one he quoted, so that's my issue with it. I just don't think, I think it could have been done differently perhaps, and I appreciate the work you did on it, but I cannot find an explanation I could possibly give to Brandon to tell them that we're not buying local and we're not buying the cheapest. Councillor Bryan.
Just one quick question when everyone seems to be talking about the four-wheel drive. Was that in the tender? Was that something you requested? Four-wheel drive, symmetrical, all-wheel drive?
No, it wasn't a requirement. It was, that would be a benefit.
So it's a benefit. So if you wanted it, if it was that important, it would have been in the tender.
Well,
I think it's
yeah, it wasn't specifically within the requirements, but yes.
Okay. At this point, I'd make a motion that we don't support the purchase of that vehicle. I would make a motion that we go with the lowest purchased vehicle and ask about a dealer trade.
So was this a tender or a request for quotation? Well,
so it technically falls, and perhaps Donna can correct me if I'm wrong, but it falls under a request for quotation, but parts of it were done similar to the tender process, and that's just for optics.
Okay. Okay, so what would you like to do with this, gang? You have a motion? Councillor Bryan, your motion is? You got it, Debbie? Okay, what is it? Can you tell us? Just be clear. Not you, I just want, it's tough when Fred makes a motion.
Moved by Councillor Bryan, that the Finance and Emergency Services Committee receive report BLO 518 of Andre Grattan, be received as information, and that they not support the purchase of the Subaru and go with the lowest quoted tender from Brandon Ford.
Are there any other questions of the motion? Councillor Barton?
Just a question through you to Deb. Deb, do you see anything from a corporate township perspective, issues with going with Andre Grattan's recommendation of going with the Subaru? Are we liable? Are we going to get ourselves in trouble with this, or no?
Well, I guess it's always open to question. I mean, the quotes were incredibly close, but I mean, certainly you're always open to being questioned on it. I doubt that for something like that was that close. The fact that what we are comparing and what we're getting at a value from one versus another, you would have an argument to support it, but of course, I mean, you're always open to, as I say, questioning, especially when it's a local dealer versus not.
Yeah.
Any other questions? We'll call the question. All those in favor?
Oh, sorry, just a statement. If I'm struggling with this one, again, for the reasons I said before. If I was looking at all these options personally, I would make the same decision that Andre made, I think.
Again, if we're going to open this up for comments, and I appreciate what you're saying, Councillor Barton, but that would be with your individual money, not taxpayer money.
And I totally get it.
Right, so if we have to go with lowest compliant bid in my mind is Brandon Ford, which is $2,300 less than the next bid. So in my mind, we have to give the taxpayers the best price, so that's why I made that motion.
Do you want to make one, Jack?
Yeah, I don't, like I said, I only have one drawback, and that was the servicing of it. So I will, I'll move the recommendation by Andre Grattan.
Sorry, any questions on the motion? All's in favor? Carried. Sorry, we're back at finance. Is there any unfinished business? Is there any other business? Okay, I'll turn your attention to the accounts for March. Any question of the accounts? Somebody like to make a motion to move the accounts? Councillor Bryan? All's in favor? Carried. Thank you. I'll turn this over to Tourism, Heritage and Community Programs Committee. Councillor Beach.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to open Tourism, Heritage and Community Program Committee. We've already dealt, correspondence from Robin Coombs, Chair of Heritage and Uxbridge, Preserving Uxbridge Heritage. I'd like to be able to table this till we find out the cost and information from...
Ready? It's a motion to table this, and you'll table this until the next committee, right? That's in your motion? Just with Jack first. Councillor Bellinger.
I have just one question. When I looked at that, I find it hard that it wasn't brought in that they took Mill Street in and Pond Street in. That's an old district of Uxbridge. And I just found it hard when he outlined that, it's not indicating that. Pond Street is showing to be outside the Heritage District. So I just wondered why that area wasn't included.
I think the motion was to just table it and then save the discussion when we have more information.
And I'll make that motion to table it.
Thank you. All those in favor? Carried. Report RC 0418 has already been dealt with. Any unfinished business? Any other business? Any questions from the press? Any questions from the audience? I'd like to close Tourism, Heritage and Community Program Committee and pass it on to Parks, Facilities and Arena. Mr. Ballinger.
Thank you, Councillor Beach. I'll open up Parks, Facilities and Arena. Is there any unfinished business? Is there any other business? Okay, yes, Mr. Britt.
Just under other business, I had the opportunity to stop by the new youth center. Looks fantastic. Seems to fit in really well with the seniors so far, and I just hope that continues to work out. And the parents and the youth and the staff there were all very positive about the changes.
Great. Okay, the only thing I would say, the sign at the arena, we're just waiting for the last sponsor to come. Paid their money, waiting for one more, and we should hear very shortly we should be receiving a check. The paper, anything about the Parks, Facilities and Arena? Any questions on it? Yes, Roger?
We did miss you on the other one too, Roger. I just realized that, sorry.
Yeah, Councillor, just relating back to the Scotsman's presentation. Did Council agree to give the Scottish Festival those five dates?
What happens is the council is fine with it, but it's going to staff because there has to be a go to staff, and unless it's a thing like, do you have insurance, those things, and yeah, we're fine with it.
Thank you.
Anything from the audience? Okay, I'm going to turn this over to...
I think we'll step in, Jack, and we'll let Jude speak before we go to sustainability, if you don't mind.
You know what we're going to do? We're going to let Jude speak. Jude, were you here on time?
Yes, he was.
Okay. I just want to make sure. Okay. I'll turn it back to the chair.
Hi, Jude. Would you like to come up to the podium? Turn the microphone on. Welcome. Nice to see you again. There you go.
Hello, everyone. And we are having the block party again, annual block party on June 9th. And then I would like to get the permission to use the parking lot. And it will be the same stuff as always been.
Great. Any questions? Any questions, Jude? I think we're pretty familiar with this. Councillor Bryan.
Good to see you again. We'll see you tomorrow night at the BIA. Thanks for signing up.
I don't know what happened actually with that, but,
Okay, we'll talk about that after, but thanks for coming out.
Okay.
You show up here, you sign up for everything. That's great. On June the 9th, just to let everybody know, we also have the Ultimate Race Uxbridge is going on that day, so which is fine, so we'll have both of those, but I would certainly support, because Jude's been through this before, he knows all the rules, the security, the fence, and we've had no problem.
What's happening on the same day?
The Ultimate Race Challenge.
Okay.
That's, a lot of it takes place here at the Township Building,
Okay.
but it shouldn't really impact you.
No,
But we
because
just wanna
I
let you
did
know
look
that there's
into it.
something else going on.
Fabulous. So we have a motion from Councillor Bryan to support the event. Are there any other questions? No questions? All those in favor? Carried. So, did you have a question, Jack? Sorry.
Well, I just, you know what? I want to thank you. I saw something in your restaurant. You had a backup. You had a problem.
Yes.
And I was sitting at the bar, and I don't mind saying.
We're so
You know,
we're so surprised.
Your bartender,
Yeah.
he just looked at everyone sitting there and he said, "No more drinking." And I said, "I have my daughter coming, what about no food? There's a regulation. The backup, the water's shut off. The restaurant is closed." So good for you, because you had a lot of people in there.
Yeah.
And
It
you,
is a
good
safety.
for you. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, and it actually happened 2 times. Last year was Monday, and I had catering for Masons at the Masons Hall for 60 people, and I had to be there at 5:30 to set up, and then I had a flood. It's like a Niagara Falls in the basement. So I had no choice, but still, my boys helped me out to take the food, and then they were able to fix the problem. And then last Tuesday too, same thing. So we are actually going to get steam cleaner guys in there to clean the entire line so that this doesn't happen anymore. Plus, I mean, obviously I'm losing business too, right? And it's not safe for the customers because if they're not able to use the water. Mainly the water, we can actually fix the problem and turn off the water, and then for half an hour or whatever. The main thing is, entire cooling system in there, it's cooled by water. So if there's no water, everything's gonna explode.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jude. Thank you very
No
much for
problem.
coming in.
And also,
Another plug? Go ahead. We've
July-
had a few of them today.
July, I forgot the date, but Right to Remember for Brent Foster is coming up too.
Right.
And they were willing to do the same thing. So do I have to fill out another form and then present to you guys, right? Okay, so I will get that.
Make it municipally significant.
Okay, that's fine.
Councillor Brown, would you also add to make that also a municipally significant event because they're using the parking lot there, okay? Can we do both? Do we have the date for the second one? Just, do you know the date of the, right?
I
Don't know?
July, I know it's July
Can we just put them both in like that now? Is that okay? Okay, so that motion by Councillor Bryan. Are there any other questions? All those in favor? Carried. Thanks, Jude. You're all set to go.
Okay,
Have
thank
fun.
you.
Thank you.
And also
Okay.
about the BIA stuff. I know, but I don't know what I'm doing.
Fred will speak to you after about it.
Okay.
He'll make.
And is there any charities that you guys want me to support this year? Okay. I know that I have to drop off a check for
Loaves and Fishes, is that what it was?
no, I did that.
The animal shelter
Fair board?
can always use.
Was it the Fair Board last year?
No, Oxbridge Fair.
Uxbridge Fair Board,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I will do that today. I'll come in.
You're really
Great,
getting the most
great,
out of this
Jude.
microphone up there, eh? You're
Great.
like ticking stuff off your list.
Okay, Jude. Time's up, Jude.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jude.
Really appreciate it. And thank you for your support. And I always support the town, you guys know.
Absolutely.
I know that.
You're a
And
big supporter, we
always
appreciate
ask
that.
me anything if you guys need any help. I will do my best.
Great, Jude.
Thank you,
Thank you.
appreciate it, thanks.
Have a great day.
And I will, exactly same thing, I will drop off the
I
copies.
need a hook. I need
The
one of those
insurance and the
long hooks.
CIBC, I will get all approved, okay?
One more thing, you're coming to sit up here, I'll tell you that now.
Thanks,
No,
Jude.
thanks.
Thank you.
You're not at karaoke, you know.
Sorry, I'll turn this meeting over now to sustainability.
Okay.
Councillor Barton.
Right, I'll open Sustainability, Watershed and Conservation. I'm gonna start with, Item number 25, this is from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs, the proclamation of the Building Better Communities and Conserving Watersheds Act 2017, changes to the land use, planning, and appeal system. What would we like to do? Oh,
I'd just make a motion to receive this.
okay. All those in favor of receiving? That's carried. The next one is, page 39. This is from the Town of Newmarket, participation in Earth Hour. What would we like to do with this? Again, Councilor Malloy?
I think I'd like to support this, and we really should get active on this. I think it's a great event, and we don't really do a lot on it, but we should. I think it's a wonderful event, Earth Day.
Okay.
I don't know what we can do about it, but I mean, certainly we can deal with our own buildings.
I'm turning my lights off.
Right on. Maybe we could send it to the Energy Conservation Committee, see if they plan something, or make an announcement, or do something. I think it's a great initiative. We should do something on Earth Day, and we don't get involved in it. We should.
No, they did something a couple years ago, but they haven't since then, so.
So I'd like to make a motion to, send this off to, the Energy Commission, the Energy, Conservation Committee, and, see if we can get something done for this.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor of, Councilor Malloy's, that's carried. Okay, the next one is, page 42. This is from the Town of Oakville to, Kathleen Wynne. Reconsideration of protecting water for our future generations, growing the greenbelt in the outer ring.
This is the white belt.
Yeah.
I'll give you a motion, Chair, to receive it for information.
Fair enough. All those in favor of receiving it, that is carried as well. And, any unfinished business? Any other business? Any questions from the press? All right, I will close this meeting of Sustainability, Watershed, and Conservation, and I'll pass it over to Public Works and Operations and Councillor Bryan.
Thank you, Councillor Barton. First item under Public Works and Operations is a piece of correspondence. Item number 28, Metrolinx to the Region Municipality of Durham recommends on the draft 2041 Regional Transportation Plan. Questions, concerns, comments? What would Council like to do with this? Councillor Malloy?
Let's make a motion to receive it.
All right, all in favor? Carried. Next item, item number 29, Doug Moffat, retraffic and road adjustment during work on the Brock Street culvert replacement. I will speak to this first for the simple reason that it's in my ward, and there have been some issues with Mill Street and what's going on. I would like to make a recommendation that we send this to staff to have them look at it and see what we can do about making this a lot better for those residents during this time. Councillor Malloy.
Just a comment. I wouldn't like, while it's at staff, I really would like them to address that left turn there. That is the worst intersection in the world to try to make a left turn there, and I don't know what you can do about it, what we can reroute. I mean, Mr. Moffat suggested a few things. I don't know if they're workable, but that is a terrible spot. Just sitting on the hill going left, it would be great if we could find a way around that on a permanent basis, not just during the,
Absolutely.
culvert.
I think that this is a good opportunity for us to maybe be able to fix this. So I think with Mr. Moffat, he does have some good suggestions, and I would like to see some of those certainly discussed. Councillor Barton.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Malloy. The left-hand turn, I think, would solve, if there's no left-hand turns there, it would solve a lot of these issues. I think to make it a one-way might be overkill, because if you're going, say, from Uxpool or something like that to the elementary school, which is something I would do, or to the township office, the ability to use that road to avoid the downtown core, and to make a right there, does save a lot of time. So I think to totally shut it down for that direction might be overkill. I did speak to Doug Moffat yesterday, and he supported just making that the left-hand turn restrictions. So, something to think about.
All right, we have a motion. All in favor?
Yes.
No, we don't have.
I just wanted to say that I totally agree that, to get rid of the left-hand turn, it really would make a big difference and safety factor there immensely. So I'd like to support that, with a motion.
You're making that motion?
Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Ballinger?
I just want to know which left-hand turn we're talking about. From Mill Street on to Toronto Street, or from Toronto Street on to Mill Street?
Hill to Toronto would have been my recommendation.
Okay, so then I'm driving and I say, well, I'm can't turn there. I'm going to make that left-hand turn on Joseph Street. And I'm going to go up Joseph Street, and then I'm going to go on to Elgin Park and go out that way. What do you think the residents are going to say that live on Joseph Street? Because the traffic is going to be increased like...
It's going to get funneled somewhere.
I agree with what you're saying, but I think it's something that should go back to staff and take a look at that, because I can just see a lot of problems if they start making that turn onto Joseph Street.
Deb, can you read the motion back, please?
I don't have a motion.
But Pam
No
made
one
one.
has moved it.
Pam made a
Well,
motion.
no, Pam made a motion that we stop the left-hand turns from Mill Street onto Toronto Street South.
Okay.
Okay,
we'll
so
vote on
nothing has
that.
happened with the correspondence yet.
Okay, who wants to make a motion with the correspondence? Councillor Barton.
Pam already made a motion, so I can make a
Okay, so
friendly amendment?
hold on. We have a motion on the floor from Councillor Beach to prohibit left-hand turn lanes from Mill Street onto Toronto Street South.
Can I add to it, to refer to staff?
Okay, so are we doing anything with the correspondence? Do you want that all tied
To
in
receive
together
it.
and refer to staff for consideration?
Yes,
Okay.
and receive it at this time.
If I could just add one thing. That's the region's call, because the region controls the intersection, so.
Okay, so that's something we can hear back from there. Okay, so we do have a motion now. Okay. All in favor of Councillor Beach's motion? Carried. Okay. Report to committee, report PWO 1118 of Ben Kester, Director of Public Works and Operations, read bicycle warning signs. Questions, concerns, comments? I'm just gonna look over to the right.
Yeah, I don't know why. All right, so, just more of a comment. I also attended this meeting. It was put on by our insurer and the region. And I specifically asked, the question, if we know we have cyclists in an area, a large number of cyclists, and we know we have blind hills and no shoulders, what are we best to do in that circumstance? Are we better to not put up the signs, or are we better to put up the signs and attempt to make it a safer situation? And the issue is like what Ben says in his report, is where do you, if we put some signs up, if there's an incident somewhere else, why aren't there signs there? And that's the big concern. We have a tool which is Strava, and they do heat maps. So Strava is an app, it's halfway between a fitness tracker and social media, where anyone who's using the app maps their rides, and then it goes into a central database so you know the traffic on any given route. So if you look at Durham Forest, it's glowing because of all the cyclists there. But you also see a large number of riders using the 7th concession between, Elgin Park Drive and Durham Forest, as well as the Greenbelt Loop, which is Brookdale Road up to 7th across WAG to 6th. I feel that we need to do something to protect those riders. A lot of them are young, and that's why they're not driving their cars. They're under 16, they don't have their licenses yet, and they're riding to the forest.
Councillor Malloy?
I guess my question is this: we've decided that we're gonna put some money towards doing a cycling plan for the township, so why wouldn't we wait till we have a cycling plan that's gonna determine what and where and what we need? I just think we're jumping the gun here, we're putting little pieces together. The cycle plan's gonna, I believe, is gonna answer some of these questions for us, isn't it? It's gonna tell us where they should be riding, where they can ride, well, they can ride anywhere, but, I mean, what the preferred routes are. That's what our cycling plan's all about. My suggestion would be, why don't we wait till we do the cycling plan? Before we start throwing little pieces in, and as you said, we may suggest that this is an unsafe area without posting it somewhere else. So I think we wait for the consultants to do the cycle plan and say, let's go, tell us what we need to do. My opinion.
Councillor Ballinger? Sorry, and then I'll come back to you.
I concur. The deputy mayor, I concur with that. It makes sense to me that we wait till so that's where I'm at.
Councillor Barton?
Yeah, and I agree with that if we had a timeline for the plan. Unfortunately, there's no funding for this plan yet. We put aside, $10,000, but there's the provincial funding is not available. We don't have an application in. This may take another year, right, at least. Especially with the election, this may not go live. This project might be completely dead. So in the meantime, we have a number of cyclists riding on a route, and just something to keep in mind, the cyclist, anyone is going to drive the quickest route from A to B or ride the quickest route from A to B. especially if they're on a short timeline. To expect them to go a longer route, to avoid, maybe a dangerous situation by going trail or something like that, I just don't think they're gonna do it. People go the quickest possible route. I might do something different, but the majority are gonna ride the 7th to Durham Forest.
Suggest, how about we get some information and find out where this cycle plan is? Where does it stand? And what's gonna happen with it? We must have some information on it. Is there an intake due at any particular time for it? There's nothing? I just go back to your statement, and I know that we had this discussion about the plans before. If you do something on one road, you better make sure you do it on all the roads that it's required, and that's my concern, is to say this one needs signs, and as you said, now we have another, so we're gonna put them on every road? That's my concern. I think we need something that's factual that says, we need something that's a plan that we can say, we approve this plan, we think this is the way to go. Maybe it's not the full cycle plan that we put the 10,000 aside for, but we have to have something in place. I mean, to approve this now, where exactly are we gonna put the signs, how many signs are we gonna put up, how much we're gonna spend. So if we're gonna do it, let's get a report back that's gonna say, where are we gonna put these signs, how much money are we gonna spend doing it? So far, where would you put them? I mean, you're saying, you're suggesting that if we put one up, we need to put a whole pile up, and I agree with you 100%. So where do we do that?
Well,
that's my issue.
So my suggestion is, we have an official cycling route through Uxbridge, which is the Greenbelt Loop.
I think the Township of Uxbridge has approved that.
Yeah, we approved the green belt. We approved the green belt.
No. Your mic's not on.
You need to comment, Ben, on how we came
But we
to
made
approving
them,
that.
the green belt plan, the people developing the green belt plan came to us, and we decided on a route, and we made them go through an engineering safety study, for lack of a better word, to produce where the signs need to go. So, any hill that was potentially dangerous, there's signs there. So, we had an engineering report attached to that greenbelt route before council approved it.
Okay, so what does council want to do with this?
Essentially,
We don't have a motion yet.
if the cycling plan is going to, say the cycling routes in the township are here, here, and here, then the next step needs to be to do an engineering, report on where the signs need to go with respect to those routes. And then council, then I'm fine with it.
Ingrid?
Yeah, I think the challenge that we have is, to Councillor Barton's point, we've got cyclists that are cycling on roads that are not approved cycling routes, and your concern is that people aren't gonna be aware necessarily that cyclists are using. Ben's concern is that by posting signs on routes that have not been approved, it leaves people with the impression that that is actually a cycling route that has gone through some sort of study, and that the township is endorsing it as a route. That's where you guys are caught, in between those two. Posting signs on a route that's never been approved and never been approved through engineering, but we know people are riding on it. And to your point, we should be going through an engineering exercise, so when we do put the signs up, we're advising people that this is a cycling route, and clearly those signs indicate that we're behind that as being a route. That's the crux of it.
Okay, so what would council like to do with this, Councillor Barton?
Sorry, could you repeat? Yeah, no, so I have another question. So, Book 18 is where they talk about cycling in Ontario. So, it's part of the Ontario Traffic Manual talking about cycling. It's stated that share the road signs or shared use lane single file signs are also used on roads designated for cycling or where cycling is known to occur. Which, if we look at let's just talk about the section between Uxbridge and Durham Forest, which a section of that is part of the Greenbelt Loop. We know that the 7th concession there has a large amount of traffic that will only increase with the culvert construction. I suggest, because that is already a cycling route and has high traffic, and we're aware of that, and I'm sure we have traffic counts, don't we, Ben?
I'd have to check.
Okay. But that section of road, I think we may wanna talk about, and maybe we can set a criteria which would include that for share the road signs.
Oh, okay, Councillor Malloy?
But you're excluding, to me, the most dangerous road in our township is the third concession. That's the most dangerous cycling route in the township. That's the most hilly, and more cyclists there, I think, than even down and around here. And yet, so once again, we're picking a little tiny area and we're excluding areas that are very dangerous. That third concession's horrible, and the second. They're extremely dangerous. If you're gonna go anywhere, that's where you'd go. So that's my concern, is that you're picking one spot.
Yeah.
The reality is, there's a whole pile of dangerous places in our township to ride a bike. And how are you going to deal with that? Because now they're going to say, okay, yeah, we've got this thing down by the Durham Forest, it's dangerous there and all that, but there's far worse places there. That's why I'm saying we don't have any facts, anything that can say to us whether we have a route or not. I don't know if the Greenbelt route is our route, I'm not really sure, but we need something that's going to say, here's the routes we're recommending, here's the routes we're going to take care of, and here's where we're going to put our signs. I don't know how else we can do it. I mean, you got to put a sign at every hill, really, right?
Well, and
sorry, Dave.
Oh, sorry.
Councillor Ballinger?
Sure.
You know, my fear is, and I'm looking at this, if we put up some signs, that people are gonna assume that this is a cycling route. And, you know, that gets catchy on to other people, and some of them not everyday cyclists, that think that this road is safe, that the route is there. I kinda, after reading through Ben's report, and it says, you know, they should be engineered. I tend to agree with that. So, that's my 2 cents worth.
Councillor Barton?
And I completely agree with where we're going. Just the issue is, until we, by doing nothing, we're making our cyclists less safe, we're not informing our drivers of what's happening. We're not leading our cyclists to the safest possible place they can be riding. So, the Uxbridge Cycling Club came out with a route that is part of that tourist loop that isn't engineered. But the number of engineered cycling loops that people go on is very limited. Most cyclists are riding where they feel safest on less traveled routes by vehicles, unless they're stuck and have to go between A and B, like Durham Forest and Uxbridge.
Okay, so we come back to the same point.
Yep.
What would council like to do with this recommendation? Anyone like to make a motion on it?
I'll make a motion and move the recommendation. But obviously, there's a lot more conversation needed on this, and we have to come up with something, I think that's, and we haven't had anything in place for years, and unfortunately, we do need it, but we can't just do it willy-nilly. I think we have to have some facts, some engineering, and something's going to tell us exactly where we need it, and how much it's going to cost us. We have to. So I'd support the recommendation.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. All in favor? All against? Carried. Next item, report PWO 2318 of Ben Kester, Director of Public Works and Operations, reparking downtown during the construction of the Brock Street culvert. Questions, concerns, comments from council? Mr. Malloy?
Great work, great job. I think that's wonderful that we're doing that for the downtown core. I think it's fantastic. So thanks for the work. I'd support these recommendations. Actually, both of them.
Councillor Barton?
Yeah, I support it as well. The only thing I was thinking about, I thought I had but by only having the 3-hour parking in that one section of that parking lot, if I was gonna park there and I wanted to be there all day, I'd just move, 50 feet and park somewhere else. I think instead we should make that whole parking lot 3-hour maximum, and then for the business people like Scarson or some of the shop owners, they can come and get a parking pass that would allow them to park there all day while they're at work. But we wouldn't give those to people that were taking the go bus.
But it's not just a matter of moving 50 feet, because that whole middle part, all that parking is going to be gone for the duration of the dig. there's lots of parking at Railway Street. And we don't really think that there's too many people that use that parking lot to get on to go on Toronto Street. So we don't think it's gonna affect that many people. We don't think that that is gonna be too many people that have to move from that parking lot to, say, a Railway Street, so.
We have a motion
We
on
can
the-
always, if it's not working out during the construction, we can always
Adjust
adjust it at that time.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor of the motion? Carried. Any unfinished business? Sorry, Deb. Does everybody else recognize that that's both reports?
I did make a motion to support both of the reports.
Just want to make sure, don't want to get scolded. We're all good. Next up, we have unfinished business, other business. Town of Whitby, renotice of study commencement, Lind Creek Master Drainage Plan Update. Councillor Ballinger.
I'll give you a motion to receive it.
On the floor, all in favor of the motion? Carried. We have one piece of correspondence on our addendum. Correspondence item number 40 from Scott Rutledge, Rutledge Jewelers. We request to implement Rutledge Jewelers annual floral program at 82 Brock Street West in Uxbridge. Councillor Ballinger.
I'll give you a motion to, let him go ahead and do it.
All right. All in favor of the motion? Carried. Any questions from the press? Mr. Varley.
On the cycling discussion, Ingrid mentioned something like, approved cycling roads.
No, what I was trying to say is I think where the two sides are different, in Ben's report, he's speaking about if the signs go up, it leaves people with the impression that the route has actually been thought through and that the township's actually endorsing it as a route. And Councillor Barton's point is that we know people are riding that route, even though council hasn't selected as a route. My only comment is that it leaves people with the impression that because we signed it, it's an official route.
Okay, I still have problems there because bicycle is allowed to go on any road.
Right, well, and that's the whole point of this.
As long as they follow the rules of the road.
Yeah.
No,
And I
okay.
think if we were to do a cycling plan, which has been discussed during budget, that part of the cycling plan would have identified routes in it, and then what the township would do is then we would start to sign them as part of our route network, but we haven't done the plan yet, so it makes it difficult to choose one road like you're saying, and then as Councillor Malloy pointed out, the second and the third concession have a lot of bikes as well. I think that's where it's challenging, right?
Any other questions from the press? No? Mr. Clark, nothing? All right, with that, I will close Public Works and Operations and pass it to the Vice Chair, Councillor Ballinger, for Planning and Economic Development.
Thank you, Councillor Bryan. Okay, Planning and Economic Development, the first thing is item number 30, Region of Durham fee increases for the Ontario Building Code regional activities.
I'll give you a motion to receive that.
A motion to receive it. Any questions? All in favor? That is carried. Okay, item 31, Region of Durham, the Business Count Employment Survey, the Commissioner's Report. Councillor Bryan.
I will give you a motion to receive this. It was quite the interesting read. When you see how many vacant stores we have and compared to Port Perry, and they're always saying theirs is great, when you notice those two numbers, it's amazing. So I will report this and certainly, or receive it and certainly circle it.
Any questions? Okay, a motion for to receive. All in favor? That is carried. Reports to committee. Report DS 1118 from Liz Housen to deal with the block on Brock Street 34 and 36 Brock Street West. Councillor Barton.
Support the recommendations of the report.
Questions? Okay, all in favor? That is carried. Okay, any unfinished business? Any other business? So on behalf of Councillor Hyatt, I'll ask the newspapers if they have any questions. No questions? Okay, I'm going to adjourn this and turn it over to the Administration Committee.
Thank you, Councillor Ballinger. Did you? Did you have one? Oh, okay. Alrighty, I'll call this Administration Committee to order. Correspondence item 32, Association of Municipalities Ontario regarding the money we'll never receive for selling cannabis. Motion by Councillor Bryan to receive for information. All those in favor? Carried. Item 33, this is from the County of Renfrew. This is regarding the extension of their forestry Endangered Species Act. Any questions? Someone receive it? Councillor Barton, motion received. All those in favor? Carried. This is correspondence 34 from the Township of Essex. This is regarding providing childcare at the user's expense at AMO. Councillor Barton.
Yeah, I've been to lots of conferences before. I've never had childcare at a conference.
There probably is a need for it, though.
Maybe sometimes I've needed it, but I've never had it before. And I would sit in the demographics that might need it. I think to ask for this for a small number of people that would require it is pushing it. So
It is user pay, though. It's not
Yeah.
something that, I mean, the users will have to pay for it.
Yeah, maybe if they could put together 100 people that needed it, that might create a business case that might make more sense. But sort of demanding it, I thought was overkill. So I would move to receive it.
Great. Any other questions? No? All in favor? Carried. Item 35 is from the Kinsman Club of Uxbridge. This is regarding their tag days. Any questions? Councillor Barton. Motion support. All those in favor? Carried. Item number 36. This is from Vanessa Rodman. How can I forget? It's an interesting question. We do have a few places that we have permitted temporary use in a trailer. I don't know how you want to handle this, Council. Do you have a question? Councillor Barton.
I think we should respond by connecting her with our building department so they know what the rules are. It just, by reading the letter, it implies that they're going to do it anyway and that we need to accept it. I think we have some rules in place. I've spoken to this woman on other occasions. I didn't call her on this one, but
I'd like to point out this letter that she provided to us. This article is completely ridiculous. We should send a letter to the author of this and tell him maybe he ought to read the rules, because what she's suggesting in the article is that councils cannot make bylaws that apply to private property. And as we know, that's totally ridiculous.
Highlighted in red.
Yes, I know. I know. Anyway, this article is, I don't know who this person is or where this even came from. Rural Reflections, I'm not sure what that, anyway, this article is really detrimental to her cause as far as I'm concerned. She's essentially saying either approve this or we're going to throw you in the same boat as this as being not cooperative, and anyway, I'm not getting into it. Okay. What would you like to do with this? Do we have a motion on this?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Ingrid.
I was going to say, probably the best thing is that the building department gets in touch with her, and it is a temporary process, and we have to treat everybody in the same
And we do.
way, and that's the best suggestion.
Great. So we have a motion?
oh, sorry.
Councillor Barton, make the motion, will you?
So I'll move that we ask our building department to connect with this resident.
Okay. We'll refer it to building and have them connect. Okay. Great. You got that, Debbie? Good. Okay, all in favor? Carried. Item 37. This is from Rhonda Hathaway regarding the nomination for Citizen of the Year. And just a point, that's the time, we don't do that. Times Journal does that, right? So wouldn't we be sending this off? Anyway, go ahead, Councillor Bryan.
I was just going to say, if we send it off to the Times Journal, I would support that, though. Oh, it's already done. According to Laura, it's already done.
Okay, great. So we'll just receive this?
Okay, I think there was,
There's another club involved.
the other part of that which
Was the animal shelter part.
reflects us is with respect to the new animal shelter and the request associated with that.
We go through a different process and name streets, so we can certainly take it under advisement. But when we have to get street names approved by the region, Isn't that the process, Deb?
Go ahead, Debbie.
Through Mr. Chair, so with respect to street naming, it's actually, council years ago adopted a list, which is veterans' names, and that's what we go by, but yes, you are correct. Though that list was sent to the region, so then when a street comes up for naming, you select a name from the list, and then it's referred to the region for to be finalized. But that's what we've been going with, is the veterans list. If council wants to go off and on something else for this, then that would be something you'd have to advise me of.
And as much as I think that's wonderful, I still do like the idea of the veterans. I do like the fact that you said I was correct. That's nice too. I think that if we could do that, certainly it is a list, but I would stick with the veterans for that reason.
So what would we like to do with this? Councillor Barton.
I think we should pass this correspondence on to the new animal shelter committee and see if there's a way that they would like to recognize Ann Barrett for her years of service while this is being built. Maybe there's something they would like to do.
Debbie might want to speak to that one. Go ahead, Debbie.
So, with respect to NASAS, which is the new Animal Shelter Committee, they really aren't involved in the build any longer. It is now with the township. We are dealing with it. Council back, I guess beginning of last year, mid-last year, adopted a room naming policy, and what that is associated with basically is funding that is donated to the shelter, and then whatever it is that the person donates, then the associated amount goes with a particular room, and that room would be named. But that's an actual policy. It wouldn't be that we would just put someone's name on something right now, because council has adopted an official policy. So I don't know what you want to do with this. It's up to you. But as far as NASAS being involved in this kind of thing anymore, they're not.
So it is kind of complicated. I mean, they're asking us based on one letter, and certainly she deserves all kinds of credit for the work that she does. But essentially, we have one letter. What do you want to do with it? I mean, we get one letter. We can't name a building after her based on that. I mean, obviously. Go ahead, Jack.
Well, I think we received the letter, and then we give consideration somewhere down the line, and maybe when we have all the history about Anne, maybe a plaque, and I'm saying just a plaque goes somewhere in the new building. You know, we consider that.
Okay.
But I wouldn't consider a street, and I wouldn't consider a room.
Yeah. The problem we have with this is who do we send this to for an opinion, or even what Debbie's saying is that, I mean, if you do that, you really have to open it up to make it public, because there's all kinds of people that have worked at the shelter and done all kinds of work. So how do we recognize everybody?
Okay.
It may be a little difficult to recognize just one when there are so many that have contributed. So the problem is I don't know where to send this. I mean, we obviously aren't going to approve a road or anything today, or a room. What do we do? Can we just send it to Debbie and ask her to bring it back and when the shelter's built, and see if we can add it to a list of considerations?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. Someone like to make that motion? Councillor Barton. Okay. All right. Okay, all in favor? Carried. Carrie Dolan regarding the Old Timers Hockey Club, March 30th. Councillor Bryan. Councillor Ballinger.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say probably the same thing. Certainly support this.
Yeah,
For
it's
good,
been
for the
going
good,
on for years.
for the Good Friday hockey tournament.
Yep.
Okay, so you made a motion? Are there any other questions? All in favor? Carried. Did we do this Andre one? No, okay. This is the one with the proposed, the amendments he's making to the traffic bylaw, BL 0618 of Andre Grattan. What would you like to do with this? Councillor Barton.
Support the recommendation.
Support the recommendation. All those in favor? Carried. Go ahead.
I just had a question, to make sure that I understood. So for the snow removal, they're saying 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. Okay, I understand that for, people to be out of the parking lots. But if staff, like from restaurants or even patrons, are in the restaurants in some of the public parking lots, when do the restaurants close for the patrons to be out, or staff?
I don't know how that applies to them, to tell you the truth, but do you want to answer, Debbie? Oh, she's asked, Debbie's asked Andre to come in. that question.
Whether
Okay,
there
we'll
was-
go back to it, okay?
Oh, okay.
30 seconds away.
Is he coming?
If he comes here,
Here he comes.
not that big of a building.
Walking down the street.
He's walking slowly.
Come on, drive.
Funniest looks from... Andre, we have some questions regarding BL 0618, the bylaw regarding the proposed traffic bylaw. Councillor Beach has a question saying, what happens to staff at restaurants that go beyond, that have to park beyond those times?
Staff, you mean like of the downtown, so the downtown has different rules. Regional bylaw is, December 1st to April 1st, 3 AM to 6 AM. So there is a bit of a window when they would close, that we would enforce, the regional bylaws, for overnight parking. So, we do, sometimes encounter, you know, if people have been drinking or whatever, that cars end up overnight, then we make some accommodations for that. But staff-wise, yeah, they got an hour's window there to be gone before 3 o'clock. Hasn't really come up yet, though, in my
Okay,
time
no,
here.
I just
Yeah.
wanted to, you know, make sure that, you know, for
Yeah.
patrons or
Yeah.
staff, to make sure that that was,
Yeah, there's a bit more leniency with the regional bylaw, that it doesn't
Okay.
start until 3 AM, so,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Councillor Barton?
Yeah, just to get clarification on that. So the regional bylaw would be on-street parking on, say, Brock.
Yeah, Brock, Main Street, yeah, that's the main ones that we
Okay.
do in town.
But
Yeah.
I would think that the majority of staff, say at, Wixon's Bridge, just 'cause Jude was
Yeah.
here today,
Yeah,
they would probably be parking in one of the lots, one of our lots, not on the street.
yeah, it depends on the bar, they would have use of our municipal lots there, but to be honest, I really haven't been approached about that in my 10 years from a staff member that said, you know, I was still working and I got a ticket.
Okay,
Not that I can think of in my time.
okay.
So what we'd like to do with this report? We have a mover? Any other questions on the motion? All's in favor? Carried. Thank you, Andre. Is there any unfinished business? Any other business? Anything from the press? You can ask me anything on finance or administration if you like. Yes, sir.
Councillor, if I heard correctly, and I think I heard correctly, Mr. Grattan said that if a vehicle's left overnight on a parking lot next to a pub, if that's been left there because they've been drinking, they likely won't get a ticket. If that's what he said, and I heard that correctly, how does he determine whether an drinking or not? How do you determine that?
Andre, would you like to answer that for us, please?
Just for clarification, it wasn't that they wouldn't receive a ticket, it's that they contact us after the fact.
So they get a ticket and then they come into the office and say, hey, I left my car there because I was drinking that night, and then Andre would take care of it.
Well, I put it to you that if I make that known in the newspaper, then anybody can leave their car parked overnight and just call up next day and say, I'm sorry, I was drinking. It just doesn't make sense.
It's not something that we promote, and it's not, you get out of parking ticket every Thursday night because you want to go drinking. No, it's a one-time thing. So, after that, we tell people you need to make arrangements, their services to get your car home.
I have another question, Councillor.
Go ahead.
I'm looking at this report, and unless I'm missing something, I don't see what's changed. Between 2 AM and 7 AM, November the 1st to April 1st, we're deleting that and we're replacing it between 2 AM and 7 AM from November 1st to April 1st. What's the difference? Andre?
There is no change, and it's an administrative change where it's moving from the schedules within the bylaw to the parking offenses within the bylaw. So it's removing it from the schedule and placing it.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the press? Thanks, Andre. Brock, you have a question?
Thank you. Just a comment in reference to item number 36. I know you've referred it to the building department, but the words that have general farm help, I think that needs to be clarified with a lot more details. Because if you visit the property, you might get some eye-openers.
Thank you. Any other questions? So no other questions? Alrighty. We will be moving in camera. Someone like to make a motion to in camera? Moved by Councillor Bryan. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Have a great day, everybody. Happy St. Patrick's Day if you have any Newfie blood in you at all.
Happy birthday. It was, yeah.